Lights, camera, action, right? I mean, this is where everybody is familiar with what happens in movies, and this is probably why everybody thinks making movies is exciting.
Get down!
They see a 2-second or a 5-second little bite about someone behind the scenes with famous actors or something like that, and it looks all exciting, or it's the stuntmen doing their stunt, or there's something blowing up. I gotta tell you, 90% of production is sitting around waiting. It's not that exciting. It's fun, again, if you've hired the right crew and you're having fun with this crew, it can be a blast. If you don't have the right crew and you're not having fun, it can be torture.
What's next, boss?
We're gonna do the dolly. Come right past your head and pull it off. And then back to it together.
Whenever you're making a film, you're going to shoot several different movies through the process of making it.
I got some more.
We need our people in here. We're close. So,
as it goes into pre-production, suddenly the director is attached, the DP comes aboard, all these other departments are brought to bear, and they all are adding something. It's no longer just the writer's film, it's this whole crew's film. And problems are going to occur, and there's going to be some things that you got that you didn't know you were going to get. Like, wow, that's a happy accident. I had no idea we were going to get that. That's fabulous. It's brilliant. We're going to look like crazy professionals. And at the same time, you're going to have problems that happen that are going to throw your entire schedule and your film down the toilet. And you're going to think, I'll never be able to walk away from this thing. It is a tedious process that takes a lot of tenacity to sit through and make sure that you do it right.
Can we have our dock worker in the shot? Blocking is what makes your frame interesting. The basics of blocking is really where are your actors at, what are they doing, and where's the camera with respect to that. And how do they interact with the camera, and how do they move about the set to really cover and create the emotion that you're trying to create.
I still think you need more people back here doing something.
What's that?
I still think you need more people back here doing something, because it looks like an empty dock.
Okay, well, I think we've got 2 workers back there. All right, let's run it. Maybe just have one of them straggle back, quite a ways back.
By blocking, you're setting up the camera with the actors and making sure that what you were going after in your head is actually going to work in a real-life situation.
Ladies, push past him, push past him.
And that might be, a dolly, it might be a zoom or a zoom out, it might be handheld, or it might be a dolly around the person. All these things, we have these images in our head, but then we have to block them out in real life with actors and with the camera, and make sure that those will work in the real life scenario. Hey guys, students and teachers, can I have your attention for a second? We're just going to talk about what we're doing here. It seems kind of odd what we're doing. What we're doing is this is called cheat, and we're cheating to have that door in frame because we can't really move the door because it's solid steel. What we have to do is to cheat where Josh was here over to there, so we can have this foreground and background item. And if you can see we have the boards they can look at. Right here. At the storyboards, you can see that he walks up and he reveals Josh sitting there with a hood on his head. And then he pulls the hood off, and in the background is the interrogator silhouetted. So to get this shot, there's no way we could get it over here because the geometry doesn't work. So we had to cheat it over to here. When it cuts into the whole picture, you're not really going to know that it wasn't right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
And then we moved the light over so it's motivated the exact same place where he was sitting over here. And that's how you make it. So you're basically doing a little cheat, but it works for the geometry, and it's a cool shot, and it brings us into the area.
Are you teaching the teachers that cheating is good?
Yes. In this respect, yes. Yes. In this respect, yes.
It's only in Hollywood.
Yes. So cheaters prosper in Hollywood, is that what you're saying?
Best if you do cheat. So as soon as, let's have somebody standing by, either someone can go back, take the headdress off or whatever, let's have somebody, as soon as Fahim takes him, let's have somebody cross frame.
Another one. I have another body to send.
Okay, great.
So that's fine.
Okay.
All right, where's my other background? Yeah, come on, dude. All right, so you're gonna wait. You're my first cue.
Okay.
Gentleman A.
Yeah.
So he's gonna cue you,
All right.
and then when I let you know, you're gonna cue him. And I'll also cue you, George. Got it all straight?
Yeah. Maybe talk real quick.
It is they look through the camera, how everyone's used to doing it. They look through their still camera and they focus and they take the picture. I don't have the luxury of looking through the camera. So what I do is tape off how far from the film plane to the actor, and then I set that on the lens. And the thing is, that can change, and normally does, change constantly during a take.
We do have to hit very specific places so that we're in focus, so that the person who's focusing the camera, they've preset it so that when you hit that mark, they know they're going to hit that one mark on the focus.
When did you arrive in Turkey?
January 2002.
The set or the scene that we had the most effort with blocking was in the interrogation, because by itself that could become a pretty boring set.
What we had to do is we had to block that in a certain way to line all those elements up. So we were actually shooting not in the center of the room where we made it feel like we were in the center of the room. We had to move everything over to the right-hand side quite a little bit to get everything to work with the door.
But that particular blocking motivated the camera moving to come past Josh to reveal somebody with a bag on their head. The CIA agent comes by, takes it off, reveals that information.
And in doing so, you create this very dynamic shot of him walking deep from frame all the way up into the front of frame.
Now we could have done that static and just had him in the foreground and the CIA agent walking in, but that's boring. So how do you make it feel fluid, and how do you reveal certain things? That's what blocking's all about. If you didn't have any blocking, you would just set up a 3-camera setup and shoot all the actors out, and they'd be pretty stationary. But what happens with that is it gets a little boring. Watching different directors and how they move the camera around and how they block, there's a lot to learn. You know, we're going to have Yosef, who's our interrogator, crossing in front of the camera. So you'll have these stuff just crossing in front of the camera. So all of a sudden you feel even further distanced away, creating this feeling of our guy that he's being interrogated and he doesn't know where he's at. There's more distance between him and the camera, and nobody will notice that other than, subliminally you will realize that something else is going on. By putting the camera back here, Tristan's put a longer lens on so that we can be closer, but that's going to put everything out of focus more. Whereas when we were over here, we were closer and on shorter lenses, so the depth of field is greater, so things are in focus. One of the directors that I think is incredibly talented with this is Steven Spielberg. He'll do a one shot and cover an entire scene, all because he's blocked it, so that it's interesting. And that's really what makes a film great, I think, is really putting the effort that you need to put in to have great blocking.